Well, hey there. Welcome to the Lean Lifestyle Podcast. This is your host, Courtney Witten, certified personal trainer and health coach and owner of C Fitness. Well, I hope you all are having a lovely day. It's a beautiful day here in Northwest Arkansas, and I'm really excited to chat with you all about navigating perimenopause. So I'm going to be bringing my best tips on the easiest things that you can focus on to move the dial forward for you to lose fat, build muscle, and get lean in your 40s and beyond. So I'm really excited to share this information with you. But before we get going, just a few updates. I just want to let you all know that I have a few spots open in my membership for women, Lean Physique. So this is a fitness and nutrition membership for women who want to lose fat, build muscle, and get lean and make it a lifestyle. So I do have just a few spots open for that. I will put the link for more information for you to check out in the show notes. Also, make sure that you check out my YouTube channel. I have a new video series called Recomposition 101. So we talk about body recomposition, how it is more important than weight loss, and it's definitely going to serve you better than weight loss. Basically, body recomposition, which is losing fat and building more muscles, having more muscle tone and having less body fat. So there is a difference between that and weight loss. So that's what that series is all about. So I would love for you guys to check that out. I will put a link in the show notes as well, so you guys can check me out on YouTube. I also have some meal prep videos with some low carb and high protein recipes, and I'm going to continue to share that all with you as well. So don't forget to subscribe when you check out my YouTube channel, so that way you never miss an episode of my video series, Body Recomposition 101. But I think other than that, that is about it. Just having a lot of fun, connecting with the new members inside Lean Physique. I'm getting some new ladies onboarded, and they really are action takers. So if you're an action taker and you're down for lifting weights and making very doable changes to your nutrition, make sure that you reach out to me. I will link my email address as well in the show notes. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So we're here talking about perimenopause. This is something that I really have been interested in because I do believe that I'm in perimenopause myself. I've been having some symptoms. So this is something I've really been interested in, especially in the last, I would say probably the last 5-6 years of my career. I've really pivoted to working with perimenopausal women because this is the population that I have always worked with since day one of my personal training career. So I got certified through NSCA back in 2010. So even back then, even in the early days of working at gyms, the biggest population that I worked with was ladies in their 40s and 50s. So I know that their struggles, I totally understand their struggles, especially now that I am that age and I'm going through it myself. Things are a little bit more difficult. It is hard to get a tighter toned look, but it's definitely not impossible. So that's why I'm really interested in it, because I know that throughout my career, I've always had clients, for the most part, that are in their 40s and 50s who struggle with things like stress management and being consistent with the gym and making small changes to their nutrition, being consistent with that. I totally have noticed through my career that this is the population who really needs the help. Just being in the age now of the population that I'm serving, I totally understand. And I'm realizing it more and more as time goes on, really, as I get older. So that's who I really enjoy helping. And that's why I'm so passionate about these topics. So we're gonna be talking about perimenopause because things are different. And it's one of those things, it's like, you just kind of have to get a little bit tighter with your habits as time goes on in order to kind of roll with these changes. Because yes, your body is going to go through some changes, and with hormones changing. So generally we have things like a drop in testosterone testosterone, a drop in progesterone. So these hormones can really affect things like our energy levels, our hunger, our cravings, our ability to put on muscle. So that's why it is a little bit more challenging, because our hormones really do dictate a lot of things, such as our energy levels and our hunger levels, and how much we're having cravings. So these things can really affect the choices that we make. So this is why hormones are so important. And we want to make sure that our lifestyle is aligning to where we can navigate perimenopause without a lot of weight gain, blood sugar dysregulation, sleep disturbances, anxiety, low libido, just to name a few. So these are some of the symptoms that you might start noticing, as well as here's really one that is really big, is your menstrual period. So I know for me, that's really been the biggest sign, is just irregularities in my cycle. So those are some things to kind of look for, some symptoms, but they can be better managed with these lifestyle hacks I'm about to share with you. So number one is alcohol. So I want to start off this conversation about alcohol because this is kind of something that a lot of people don't want to hear, including myself. I do drink alcohol. I do love drinking wine, and I totally understand how much this sucks, especially if you all drink. I know for me, it's really been difficult to not have alcohol be like a crutch in some ways in my life. And I don't think I'm alone here. I know I have a lot of lady friends that struggle in the alcohol department as well. It just kind of becomes like a way to kind of numb out, a way to relax after the end of a hard day. It can kind of signal the end of the day and it's time for you to relax. But unfortunately, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. There really is not any good benefits to alcohol whatsoever. And this is coming from someone who does drink on a regular basis. And I have drank pretty much my entire adult life. But it is something that I have struggled with before. Things are definitely not perfect, but I am working on moderating it. So I am sleeping much better these days. For the most part, I do not drink during the week. And if I do, it's like one glass of wine. But I really do try to keep my wine intake down to 2 glasses in a sitting. Sometimes it is 3, but here's the problem with alcohol, okay? The problem with alcohol is there's a few things, actually. So let's kind of break this down. Calories is one thing, right? It's just really empty calories. It's not going to satiate you. It's actually a toxin that your body is going to try to get rid of immediately, which your body does process it immediately and is going to prioritize metabolizing alcohol before any other food, any other macronutrient. So it's not just only the calories that come from that, the empty calories, but the problem is that your body is going to make sure that it metabolizes alcohol first. So meaning that anything that you eat with alcohol or after alcohol, more than likely is probably going to be stored as fat, because your body's going to prioritize burning off that alcohol first. It's trying to get that out of your body as soon as possible. And this can really be a slippery slope, because a lot of people struggle with eating after they've had a couple drinks. This can really become a problem with excess calories. If you're struggling with weight loss and you drink alcohol and you find yourself snacking, this can be an issue. And this is probably contributing to the weight gain. So again, it's just kind of a slippery slope, because, you're already getting the empty calories from the alcohol, but then you are eating after, if you're getting like the munchies and you start eating, then you have more excess calories. And then on top of that, your body's not going to really be, serious about burning off what you just ate. Is going to try to burn off that alcohol first. So, that is really the slippery slope of alcohol. But the other issue, and this is really why I've done so much work monitoring my own alcohol intake, and that is sleep. I know for sure I do monitor my sleep on my FitnessPal or on my Fitbit, and I just do not sleep good. First of all, I just don't really sleep good, period. So, which is not uncommon if you are perimenopausal. Sleep disturbances is a symptom of perimenopause. but it's definitely not good after a couple of drinks. So that's something I've really noticed in the last year and a half or so that I've been wearing my Fitbit, is how much better my sleep is when I'm not drinking alcohols. And we all know that sleep really does affect things like your hormones, right? So I know for me, if I don't get good sleep, I'm going to be craving like, highly palatable foods. I'm not going to be making the best options. And not to mention, like, I'm not going to have energy to kill it in the gym, right? So sleep is so, so important. And that's why I've really tried not to drink during the week anymore, and just really do relaxing things. And we'll be talking about that a little bit more later. So that is number one, alcohol. And again, I know I hate it too. It really makes me sad. Again, I just can't drink the same way I used to. I know for sure I cannot get away with it. And unfortunately, it's just one of those things that we really need to, if you're really wanting to improve your symptoms, this is something that can really greatly improve. And I'm a big believer in, hey, if you don't want to quit, then don't quit. You know what I mean? But even just like decreasing the amount that you're drinking, having less, maybe have some alcohol free days in there. I think that's great. Or, maybe even just keep it to one drink a day. I think that's totally fine. I know for me, it's not realistic. I don't think I'm ever going to stop drinking alcohol, but I do think that is important over time, especially if you just don't like the symptoms that you're having and you want better weight loss and body recomposition results. I think alcohol is something that, even if you just moderate it a little bit more, that can really make a big difference. All right, ladies. The second top tip for navigating perimenopause is walking. Walking is so underrated, and I kind of want to like de-sexify like high intensity cardio that everyone thinks that they need to do. You don't. You really don't. I think that it can have its place. I think, if you want to do like hit maybe once a week or something like that, that's totally fine. But I feel that a lot of women just kind of focus on the high intensity stuff and they just kind of overlook the walking. And it's not just from a calorie standpoint, which that does help, right? Expending calories is going to help. And you can expend calories through walking alone, but really just movement, just so you have better mobility. I know for me, if I get outside and take a walk, I'm in a much better mood. It just really helps me. It just really helps affect my mood and my outlook for the day. So if I can get outside in nature and walk, it makes all the difference. And it's really just, moving enough during the day. That is going to help with your calorie expenditure. Yeah, maybe it's not going to be as much as like, like something high intensity or like running and stuff. But I also want to mention that it's good on your joints, right? It's not going to be like super stressful. And that's something that I've really changed within the last 5 years, is I really just don't do a lot of jumping anymore. Of course there is benefits to it, but I actually feel better not doing it at all. So it's very rare that I do anything like jump squats or anything like that. I do not run anymore at all either. But yeah, nowadays I'm just really focusing on weights and walking. Getting enough steps in is going to help you with your overall calorie burn. And I think that is one of the issues with women gaining weight in perimenopause. And here's the thing, it's not that perimenopause makes you gain weight. It's a combination of these lifestyle factors that we're really not taking into account. So what I mean by that is, over time, most of us, and maybe this isn't true for everyone, but most of us, including myself, is just naturally moving less. And you might not even realize that. There's a lot of reasons for this. Some of that is just, I know for me is my work. I do a lot of computer work. So for me, it's just a way of me like not being as active as I used to, versus like when I was a in-person personal trainer where, I was walking the gym a lot, or when I was a bartender and a server. My lifestyle has just changed, right? I'm definitely more sedentary now that I do a lot of my work online with my clients. So some of it is that, some of that is just stress. I mean, just in general, just having a lot going on. I know, for a lot of women my age, they are juggling a lot of things. And, we're juggling a lot of things at this time in our life. So, a lot of us have kids, and sometimes, they get older, and juggling all of that, changes in relationships, career changes, all of these things, right? Trying to juggle everything and really carve out that time for us. But yeah, walking can really be super beneficial. It can be stress relieving, and there's so many good benefits to it. And yes, I think 10,000 steps a day is great, but even if you just improve, my suggestion is get a Fitbit or, some kind of tracker where you can get an idea of what you're actually doing. If that's not possible, then maybe you just make a goal of like, hey, I'm going to take a 30-minute walk like 3 times a week, just starting really slow. And it really does make a difference with your body composition, how much you move. All right, so we're going to talk next about weight training. So number 3, we're here talking about perimenopause and my top 6 hacks for managing your perimenopausal symptoms. And that is a resistance training program. I know I always talk about weight training, resistance training, but I want to be a little more specific, and I want to talk about actually following a solid program, because here's the thing: if you are working out like 5-6 days a week, like, you should be seeing results. Okay. So if you're not seeing results from that, there is either a disconnect with your nutrition, which that could be part of it. But I also noticed that a lot of women, they just don't really have a plan. So they're just kind of doing a lot of random stuff, and random stuff doesn't really give you good body composition. You really need to be intentional, and it's not just, that's why I want to stop saying, just weight train a couple times a week. I want to be a little more specific about that. What I want to say about that is I want you all to have a solid program. Now, here's the thing: it does not need to be complicated at all. Okay. And I think that a lot of people complicate it. I think a lot of women think that they need these fancy exercises and training plans that change all the time. But honestly, it's really boring, just basic exercises, learning how to do them really well, and improving your form, and also increasing your weight loads. So, honestly, like, I've been lifting in the gym again. So I took a break during COVID and after COVID. There's a long time that I actually did train at home, but over the last almost a year and a half, well, maybe it hasn't been that long. It's been like a year and 2 months or something like that. So 14, 15 months ago, that's when I got back into the gym, and I started doing like barbell hip thrusts and barbell squats or Smith machine squats. I've been doing some lunges, abduction work where your leg is going away from the midline. I really have been focusing on legs. Though that's really where you're going to get the best results, is really just doing the same lifts over time. I was just thinking about that today with my hip thrust, because someone came up to me and was like, wow, that's a lot of weight. And they're like, how long did that take you to get that heavy? I was doing 275 today, which my max right now is 305. I did that for like 4 reps a couple weeks ago, but 275 is really like my good, like, working set. But it's taken me a long time to get up to that. Like, I literally just started off with a 45 on each side. So like 135-pound hip thrust. So over the last 15 months, I'm up to over 300 pounds. So that just shows, like, that is a huge improvement. And I would have never been able to do that if I did not like do the hip thrust once or twice a week, right? This whole time. That's what I want to say about that is I think it's really important to try not to get like distracted by shiny objects when it comes to fitness. Honestly, like, no matter what age you are, like, as long as you're walking enough, like, focus on the weight training and just do the basic exercises. You don't need all these combo moves or all these metabolic conditioning workouts. Like, you literally just need to do a weight training program. Follow that, okay? Be consistent with it. Even when it gets boring, just keep doing it. Because here's the thing, it's actually going to get easier to follow this over time. That's the other thing. It's going to take up a lot less brain space and energy whenever you're just following a program. Because then after a while, you can just go to the gym like, oh yeah, I know what's next. Like, I know how to do this exercise, like, no problem, right? Like, then you're just pushing yourself to actually show up and do it and increase the weight loads, right? You don't have to worry so much about having these fancy workout plans. So that's really my suggestion. Again, if you like cardio, I think cardio can be used as a tool, like during a fat loss phase. I don't really recommend doing a lot of cardio in maintenance or in a bulk. So unless you are like actively trying to lose fat, doing a little bit cardio sure is great, but you still, no matter what you're doing, so no matter if you're just trying to maintain your weight or lose body fat, honestly, like focusing on the resistance training is key, because here's the thing that y'all need to understand. If you are trying to lose body fat, you want to keep weight training so you don't lose that muscle, right? Because whenever you're in a calorie deficit, you're eating less energy than your body is burning, then you are at risk of losing lean mass along with fat mass, right? So if you weight train, if you eat enough protein, you're going to be able to at least avoid that for the most part. Okay. So that's why weight training, no matter what your goal is, really is going to be key. And it's going to get more important for you to do this over time. Not to mention things like we do need that weight bearing, right? We need to be strong. We need to be able to be independent as we get older. We need to strengthen our bones, right? And weight training and walking, so the two W's, really is where it's at for perimenopause. All right, ladies. So number 4, my top tips for managing perimenopause is eat less processed food. Okay, please don't kill me yet. Don't be mad at me here. Here's the thing. If you guys don't know my story, yes, I eat very clean at this point. I don't, it's definitely not perfect. Like I still eat gluten sometimes. I still eat like cheeseburgers with the bun and French fries and ketchup sometimes, right? I go out and have ice cream sometimes, right? But yes, I do for the most part. I eat a pretty clean diet. So I eat mostly animal products. I do eat some vegetables. I eat both like low starch vegetables, at least some starchy vegetables. And I eat a lot of dietary fat. So full fat dairy, that type of thing. So I do kind of like a low carb, high protein, high fat type approach with my nutrition. But my story is that I grew up just eating a lot of processed foods. I ate a lot of fast food. I grew up drinking lots of soda. So I did not have like really good eating habits, like moving into adulthood. So it was definitely like a rude awakening, like after high school, and I was just more sedentary. I wasn't working out or anything. So I just stopped being active. Like I just wasn't fueling my body. I was eating fast food twice a day. Like it was just not good, and I didn't feel good, and I was definitely gaining weight really rapidly. So this is why I became a health coach, is because it just feels really good to make small changes, and that's exactly what I did. It's just been really over time. I've just kind of dialed in my nutrition a little bit more and more and more. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because like I do think that is totally fine to keep some processed foods in your diet. I think it's fine to eat like fast food. I think that's totally okay. I don't think that if you want to feel better that, you should be eating these all the time though, right? So having a way to moderate it, I really think that's going to be key. That's something that I work with my one-on-one clients and also inside Lean Physique. We talk a lot about being mindful and practicing moderation, trying to make like a middle ground choice. That's really what moderation is all about. So, it's not that like you have to stop like eating these foods. It's just one of those things like, what can I do to make my nutrition a little bit better so I start feeling a little bit better? And so I start seeing results, right? So I know this subject is really taboo, and I'm actually really uncomfortable talking about it right now, but I think it's important to talk about because a lot of people think that nutrition is all about calories, and it just isn't. It really is not. A lot of it has to do with what you're actually eating. Like macros, like, making sure that you're getting enough protein, making sure that you're getting enough fiber. Those types of things I think is really important, as well as like the amount of food that you're eating. I think, doing small things to improve the quality of your diet really can be key. So one thing that I've been working with one of my one-on-one clients is she loves going to like Chick-fil-A. And I think that's totally fine. But what we're doing, we're trying to find ways that she can make her choice a little bit better. So we talked about a couple things that we're going to try, like, getting a slightly smaller serving of fries, that type of thing, right? Taking out the soda or the lemonade and having some water instead. So anything like that you can do is great. Decreasing the amount of drive-through visits that you do in a week, right? So instead of going 5 days a week, maybe you just go 3 days a week, right? And I think that sometimes we try to like cut everything out, and I'm totally not in that camp. I think that is just a way that we're going to set ourselves up to fail. Because honestly, whenever we deprive, that does not end well. Deprivation is going to end in overindulgence. So I think that's really important for everyone to understand. So if you find yourself kind of like, I'm going to like stop eating all this stuff, right? But then you find yourself like maybe toward the end of the week, right? Like you're at the drive-through, and guess what? You like really went overboard, right? We need to understand that deprivation is going to lead to us overindulging later. It does not work, and it pretty much happens like every single time. So I just think that, I do think that sure, you should eat less processed food. I think we all should. I think I should too. Especially if we want to feel better, right? Like, and again, these are things that, it's always going to be up to you if you want to change these things. You don't have to change any of these things, right? It's always going to be up to you. You have free will. But I'm just here letting you know that the quality of your diet is going to make a difference in how you feel and how you thrive during perimenopause. Eating less of like the fast foods, eating less of things like processed like chips and candy and crackers and cookies, those types of foods, right? And honestly, it's not just like what it's going to do to like your gut and how you feel, but the other issue with these foods, and I think this is really the main thing, is that these foods are highly palatable. So meaning they are super easy to overeat. These foods have addictive ingredients inside of them, right? The food industry is like billionaires for a freaking reason, right? They know what they're doing. They're putting stuff in our food that makes us come back for more. It's that combination of high starch and high fat, right? That it just is hard to stop, right? And unfortunately, the more of these foods that we eat, the more that we crave them. I know that is 100% the how it works for me. So I do notice whenever I just eat more foods from the earth, animal protein, so poultry and beef, eggs, dairy, fish, those types of foods, and then I'm eating, like vegetables and things like that, and high fat foods. These foods are going to be less triggering for most people, maybe not all, but for most people, they're not going to be as palatable. So meaning they're probably not going to overeat on these foods as much as they would on processed foods. So that's kind of my stance on that. But again, I think it's going to come down to like, you're probably not going to be successful just trying to cut things out. So I do think that, just finding ways that how can you make this a little bit better? How can you decrease the amount? How can you moderate this, right? And that's exactly what I work with my ladies inside Lean Physique. I think it's really, really important because, we really want to make sure that we have our hunger in check, our cravings in check, and that's really going to come down to what we're actually giving our body. All right, number 5 is macro count. That's probably not a surprise to you. I know I do talk about macro counting a lot because I think it's a powerful tool. I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about macro counting and a lot of negativity around it. I totally understand because I've been in this camp before. And again, like if you dig enough, you can probably find some me talking shit about macro counting and things like low carb diets and things like that. But again, like I just didn't know what I didn't know back then. Macro counting really can be a powerful tool. I do think that, you really need to be in a good mental space to do this because, yes, this can be like a slippery slope for people that kind of like instills like things like guilt and shame. And we definitely don't want that. I try to think of it, and I teach my clients this too, to view this as like data. Okay. So macro counting, which is essentially calorie counting in addition of counting like your carbs, your proteins and fats. The reason why all these matter is because this is going to affect how you feel. Everyone is very different. So people are going to respond different to different foods and different like macro combinations and breakdowns. But yeah, it's one of those things is very, very individual. And I think it's a great tool because it can help you reach your goal faster. Because if you know what you're actually eating and what you're consuming, and the thing is, like, you're still eating the stuff, right? Like, it's it's just that you're bringing awareness to it, right? Like, that's how I view it. So, and it's not just about calorie counting and trying to diet. Like, I think it has a bad like rep because people think of it as dieting. But here's the thing: I'm doing macro counting in a bulk, right? Like I'm actually eating a lot of food. So to me, I just don't really think of it in that context. I just don't see it in that light anymore. I just see it as like, okay, well, I want to reach this goal. This is the energy I need in order to reach that goal, right? And it can also help you actually like increase your calories. And that's something that, funny enough, there is several ladies inside Lean Physique. We are not doing a cut right now. We are actually doing reverse dieting up to maintenance, meaning these ladies have, and I've done this too. I've totally have been there before. Chronic dieting. Chronic dieting will cause you to put yourself into metabolic adaptation where your metabolic rate starts to decline and you do things like move less. This is a shitstorm that I talk about a lot on the show. The shitstorm of, dieting for a long period of time, metabolic rate slows, you move less, and then you want to lose fat. And then it's like, what am I going to do? Like I'm already eating 1,000 calories, right? Like it doesn't make sense to cut more. So the solution is a reverse diet. So macro counting can help you with that, right? So that way, if you want to do a reverse diet, if you're tired of like trying to cut from 1,000 calories, what you need to do, you need to raise your metabolic rate, improve your hormone health, eat a little bit more food gradually. And you can do that with macro counting. Macro counting can also be great for helping you put in those processed foods that you still want to eat. So, you could totally, if it fits your macros, right? So that's something that I do all the time. Like I budget in my wine, I budget in my Andes, and yeah, and then I'm happy because I'm not like too far off, right? Like I'm not falling off track when I do this. Like, and it's awesome because I'm actually avoiding binging later because I'm budgeting into my calorie and macro budget. And it just makes me feel good because I can still enjoy my favorite foods. I'm just kind of like moving things around. I might cut a little bit from that next day, for example, right? Whatever the case may be. And it's just a good way to help you learn how to moderate, how to enjoy your foods and fit them in, and still stay on track with your goals, right? And still take that inspired action that's going to align with your goals. So macro counting, yes, can be very, very helpful. It can also help you with things like protein counts. Protein is a big macronutrient. I know a lot of women struggle with it. Macro counting can help you. I have some clients that just track protein. You can totally do that if you want to build more muscle and you want to get your hunger a little bit more managed. I highly recommend tracking your protein. You can weigh your protein out and track it in MyFitnessPal, and that can really help with developing more lean muscle mass, and it can also help with hunger and cravings. Really can really help a lot. All right, so we have one more. The last tip on managing perimenopausal symptoms is stress management. All right. I know. This is where people are going to start clicking off, but that's okay. I do want to say this because this is like a reoccurring theme. I know a lot of my clients struggle with just juggling things. I know we talked about that earlier about, juggling like aging parents and kids going off to college and career and changes in relationships and going back to school in your 40s, right? Like all of these things, right? Changing your body, right? All these things, it can be hard to juggle. And what I want to say is that if we do not have some kind of stress management in place, we're going to be doing things like turning to food, turning to alcohol, right, as a way to cope, just like we were talking about earlier. So we want to avoid that, right? Whenever we are, and the thing is that stress is never really going to go away. Stress can only, what we want to do is, here's really my goal. I want to get to a point where shit don't bother me. That would be freaking great. Like, that is like actually my ultimate goal. I want things to not bother me anymore. And a lot of that, it has improved a lot. A lot of that is just doing things like going to yoga, reading books. Like, I absolutely love reading just like self-help books that show another perspective, right? Another way of looking at things. That's one of my favorite things to do. I take a bath every single day with Epsom salt or a bath bomb if it's a special day. I do that every single day and it just makes me feel better, right? So everyone is going to be different. It could be hiking, it could be laying in your hammock, it could be playing with your kids. It could be going on a trip, right? A weekend trip or a vacation. I mean, there's so many things that you guys can do. Meditation, having a bedtime routine, right? Whatever the case may be is going to be different for everyone. Whenever we feel better, we are going to talk to ourselves better. When we talk to ourselves better, we're going to take action more. We're going to do things that move the dial forward. We're going to be more motivated. So stress really can get to us. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that keep women stuck. This is why I see women quit. They have the pressure of just trying to juggle everything. And I totally understand. And I do want to say that there is going to be times that maybe it's just not realistic, right? And I'm talking about like super duper stressful times. So, if you're moving, you're going through a divorce or whatever the case, sure, maybe you should take a break. But I think for the most part, like at least having something, 1 to at least a week, I would say like better if you could do something daily, but even just like a couple times a week is totally okay in the beginning, but it is a skill, is a practice to be able to slow down. Okay? It really is going to affect the choices that you make because it's going to affect how you feel. That's what I wanted to end with today is, try to find something, and it doesn't have to be anything expensive. Like I said, I just take a bath every day. Like that's just, it's nice. I turn on a meditation or sometimes I even watch Netflix in the tub. Depends on my mood. But I really like that because it's my time and it doesn't include food or alcohol, right? And I feel a lot better when I get out. So that's what I wanted to end with today. So thanks so much for being here. Again, a couple spots open in Lean Physique. My membership for women over 40. So if you're interested in a weight training program, just like we said, that is key to handling perimenopausal symptoms and also not only handling them, but thriving, right? Because we want to look good and feel good in our 40s and beyond. So thanks so much for being here. You guys can email me at cfitnessonlinetraining@gmail.com if you have any questions, any feedback for me. I'd love to hear from you. Drop me an email. I'll also put my email address in the show notes. I will put my YouTube channel with the link to Body Recomposition 101, my series on YouTube about losing fat and building muscle at any age. Yeah, so it does not matter what age you are. But I love these videos. They're beautiful. They're clean. And I have some shorts that go along with those. So check me out on YouTube. I'll put that in the show notes. And finally, I will put the link to join my closed Facebook group, Lean Lifestyle. So you guys can hop on over there. It's totally free. And I post most days. I post several days a week. And I always post like fun, like little conversation starters so I can get to know you all. But I do post quite a bit on there as well. And I'm also on Instagram. So check me out there. I might have to put that in the show notes as well. So I'm at cfitness.training on Instagram. I'd love for you to come on over and hang out with me on IG. But I believe that's it for now. Thanks so much for being here. And if you can leave me a 5-star review, that would really be helpful. If you found value from this podcast, make sure you share it with a friend and give me a review on Apple or whatever you're listening on, because it really does help other ladies find me. And I want to help as many women as I can. All right. Thanks so much for being here, and bye for now.